Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hello, welcome to TFYLP. We are live Monday, December 21st, episode 411. Add in here.
Ray Gay sound system.
Oh.
What's the 411?
There we go. So this normally would be our holiday episode tonight, but due to COVID and all the craziness and whatnot, we're not exchanging gifts this year.
Christmas is canceled.
Christmas is
participating
canceled.
in the war on Christmas. It's
Yes.
real, and we're on the front line.
Yes,
We
against
say
the
happy holidays on this podcast.
I mean, there are two out-of-work
Should.
Santa Clauses in this podcast tonight.
That is true. There you go. Yeah, Phil, you didn't dress up, so...
I know. Like I said, out-of-work Santa Claus.
Yeah, I was just told this was a partial holiday episode, so I almost went and got my Santa hat from the closet, but it's really hideous. So I felt like wearing it would take the vibe down.
Well, 4 of you are wearing red. So
Yeah, so there you
So
go.
it's holiday. It's honestly to match my Pokemon earrings, but we'll just say it's for Christmas.
Red
So-
touches my hair. I don't wear it.
Is that orange then? Those stripes?
What I'm wearing? Oh yeah, they're orange.
I agree though, Christian. I didn't wear red all through my teen years because my hair used to be red, and I never wore it. But then when
It's
it
very
turned on,
crunchy.
yeah, it doesn't work.
Hmm.
I adopted red after.
So, I'm Lucas, and I am joined tonight by several people. I've got Paul.
Hello.
I've got Christian.
What up?
I've got Nick.
Hi, everybody.
My goodness.
I've got Anna.
Good evening.
And with special guest Phil.
How's it going?
Yeah, you leveled up tonight, bro.
So,
You're on the real show.
There we go. I think this is the
There
second
you
time I've been on the real show.
Yeah, I think he was on another episode. So,
Yeah, we
Normally-
talked about like
Professional
worst
now.
gimmicks and all of that.
Yeah, I was on that one.
Yep.
I don't even remember last semester. Like, I don't know if I was on that show. I don't know if that show happened. I don't know what that show was.
I was there. Phil was
Was
there.
I there?
No.
No.
Okay. See, I don't know when I was and wasn't there because it was all a blur.
you
4
could be
months of
like
blur.
you could be like Surge and like not realize that show's happened yet that you wanted to be on. So,
Oh, that was sad. I
so
felt bad for him because he was
Could-
like, I
could
can't
do-
wait to be on that show. Woo!
do that too. So,
It was pretty funny.
so, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can do a part 2 and he can give his thoughts on that particular episode. So, so tonight's episode is kind of like a wild card. It's just what have you been amazed by with Transformers just over the years, like recently, in the past, whatnot. So it's kind of a broad topic, but just kind of a jumping off point here. So
Does anyone want to start other than me?
I think you get a go.
let's say you could start.
I feel like it. I feel like it. Because I feel like what I'm going to say will cause an argument, and I love arguments. So
I'm very scared of what you're gonna say.
that's what I'm here for. Yeah, it's not going to be that amazing, Christian.
Oh boy.
I mean, I could talk about how we've been impressed with the series that hasn't had butts on the characters for years and years now, since robots don't
Yep.
usually have them.
There we go.
But it's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say is the thing that's really amazed me is how tuned in and how successful the franchise is without really having like constant quality fiction, right? Like it's really pulled by the toy line. So my husband and I have finally been watching The Toys That Made Us, right? And every toy line that they talk about usually has something that, pulls it. And like, they really talked about Star Wars and how Star Wars is, it's really pulled by the fiction, but it sells tons of toys. But there's always a fiction to sell the toys of. But Transformers has gone through several periods, with like the Generations line, and when Classics came back, there wasn't really a fiction attached to it and all those sorts of things. It just really impresses me that, the toy line pulls everything. And there's a lot of fans. There's a lot of people among, even among the cast, there's some people, but in the wider fandom, especially in the super collectors, there's quite a few people who don't actively watch or read any of the fiction. Like they watched or read G1, maybe they read the old Marvel comics, maybe they watched the cartoon, maybe they grew up with Beast Wars and they watched that, but then they haven't watched anything since. Yet they have, sprawling collections. I'm one of those people.
You've got book club.
Yeah, but I'm only reading it because it's a social responsibility.
Is that book club making you want to go out and buy some of like the MMC, IDW style Transformers? Like I got my shipping notice for Chrome Dome and Rewind the other day. I'm excited about that. And I don't know if I'd be excited about those, especially iterations of those characters, were it not for that fiction.
See, that's the thing. Like, okay, so I also ordered those, and I have a little attachment to those characters. But anyway, what I was going to say is there's so many characters that, like, okay, with the rest of my collecting, what I do is I will be like, ooh, I really like this anime or TV show or movie. And then I will buy, like, my 1 or 2 favorite characters as statues or figures or whatever, sculptures. It doesn't matter. I'll get just like, a couple of things to commemorate the series so I don't forget it. It's kind of like a tribute to it. But Transformers, I have all sorts of crap. I don't really know who this character is. Like I do literally know who the character is. I've, read wiki entries and whatnot, but I have no attachment to this character or like half of the other characters currently on my desk in the clutter world.
That's the great thing about Transformers and G.I. Joe is even the characters who don't appear on the show, everybody gets text back, everybody gets a file card, or at least a couple of sentences blurb about who they are and what they do. So even, although I guess with select stuff they haven't had that, have they?
We haven't had that in like 5 years, maybe. And it makes me really sad, by the way.
Yeah. Well, they used to.
They used to.
They used to all have background.
That was my favorite part.
You still get 2 sentences on the back of every box now, which is like, ooh.
If you're lucky, unless you're selected.
Yeah.
Or
I was going to say, so somewhere there's some profile about who Black Rorichi is, but there isn't, is there?
No.
Nope.
Sentences.
Well, then you get to make it up.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is
what your
cool,
imagination
like,
is for.
Yeah. Right. Imagination, which we're all very good at.
I wish they'd bring back real bio cards again, like they used to
Me
have.
too. Like the long ones, like the ones we grew up with, that actually, they were like a paragraph. They weren't really long, but they were enough detail that you could get an idea of who it was.
And I think it's all been sacrificed in the name of the multilingual packaging because it's less to translate.
Which is great.
Fair.
I really like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's one figure coming out in 2020 that does have a pretty lengthy bio on the back of the card. But you won't see that until next week.
I was gonna say, will it still be in 2020? I mean, we're getting closer to the end of the year, Paul.
Yeah, I know. Inside jokes aside, Anna, what you've mentioned brings up the thing that makes Transformers very unique amongst the other like monster brands is it's a toy line and the fiction is secondary, where everything else is fiction first. And it's kind of annoying because our fiction is so messy, and I don't want to say I'm just going to call it messy.
Half of it's bad, another third of it's like okay, very small percentage is good.
So
I
then,
agree with that statement
that's
entirely.
true of anything.
I would say that all of the 80s toy lines were kind of like that, right? Like, they just made up this fiction so they could sell more toys.
Sell
All you
toys.
80s babies with your half-hour commercials.
Transformers has just kept going with that.
No
Like,
regulations.
but
just
again,
kept
Transformers
going.
started even before the show and stuff. You know, it started as like a pure toy line in Japan, where like Inhumanoids was literally a marketing plan. You know, it started in a boardroom where at least Star Wars started as a story, you know, so it was more creative, and then beyond that, it got huge. But Transformers was a toy line. It had its own story in Japan, you know, but like we abandoned that and made something new that was crazy and insane, and here we are.
no, that's a good point, is that, like, it is the nature of the series. You know, as kids, we didn't know that for sure. We didn't know that the toys came first before the story, but literally the story was written about existing toys. It would be the equivalent of me taking this thing, which I don't know the story to, you know, my ex-buddy I love so much, and being like, this is Frogman 600 who does the thing. And I can make a much better story than that. I am somewhat creative.
I mean, I will say, though, of a lot of those 80s cartoons, I do think that the Transformers stories from G1 hold up better than some of those other ones. Like, I've had trouble
Absolutely.
going back to, like, He-Man.
He-Man.
Like,
He-Man's
it's just
horrible. I tried to. Like, I'm not an 80s kid, and I wanted to go and relate to you guys and watch He-Man. It's unwatchable.
No, don't do it, dude.
Horrible.
Pretty bad.
I made it through I think 3 episodes, and I was like, what the hell? No more
I
of this.
am a big He-Man fan, and the only piece of media that I own of the original stuff is like they did a 10 best episodes DVD. I said that's it. That's all the He-Man I need. And I think that the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special, because that held a special place for me as a kid. But otherwise, it's not watchable.
Yeah, it really isn't. Like, I've gone back and watched some other, you know, like, I recently Twitch did a thing where they were airing, like, the first 2 or 3 or even more seasons of Pokemon. And I watched a lot of it with my partner for the first time, because he hadn't seen most of it. And, like, that was still entertaining in a lot of ways that a lot of these, like, 80s cartoon shows actually aren't, if you go back and watch them.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's sheerly silly and it's pure comedy, it did still have some entertainment value.
Sportimus in the chat says that not to slam He-Man, those are fighting words. Says he loves that cartoon.
That's the thing,
Hey,
though. We
look,
all have
the
those series.
2000X show was great. There's
I
a
like
ton
how
of stuff there
memeable
that was
Skeletor
awesome.
is.
You know, the new She-Ra show is fantastic. It's one of the best things
yeah.
on
Watch
TV
that.
right
I
now.
really need to watch that.
Real good. So
Yeah,
there is value in the He-Man property. Don't get me wrong, just not
think-
so much in that old cartoon.
I think the new
But look
the
at
new
how
cartoon,
quickly
I'm sure,
He-Man
will be good.
fell off compared to Transformers. Like He-Man had what 2 or 3 years, and then his audience got a little bit older, and that was it. It just fell apart because it didn't have anything that was even semi of consequence. You know, in Transformers, you know, season 2, season 3, you start to get some minor consequences to things, especially with the movie. So it was a show that treated its audience with a little less kid gloves than other shows did.
Plus, Transformers didn't have the main character running around without a shirt or pants on.
Yeah, it
So-
did.
All of them don't wear shirts or pants.
Others has never put on a
Yeah.
shirt.
Okay, you guys, I'm fired.
We're just having
So-
fun with you, Paul.
I don't
Yes.
like you.
No, I don't
Right,
Like
like
your
it.
friends.
And then, Christian, I don't know if this is a shout across your bow, but they're mentioning in the chat that the Unicron trilogy is not watchable, and that's kind of trash. So
That sounds like a shot across my bow, and they are 2/3 correct.
But you know what? Honestly, like a lot of times I've said that, like, as far as fiction goes, you know, some of the strongest fiction in the cartoons was Beast Wars. I've gone back and I've watched Beast Wars somewhat recently, and it's definitely not as good as I remember. Like, it's still better than G1, and it holds continuity a lot better than a lot of other things, especially my 80s cartoon shows. But there's definitely still nostalgia glasses. You know, even though I was a teenager in Beast Wars instead of a little kid, they're still nostalgia glasses. Like it's hard to fairly evaluate these things.
I think there's so much affinity to Beast Wars because people remember how it made them feel to be that age and be on the internet for the first time and talking about Transformers. And that's what they like about Beast Wars, not the show.
What?
And they like the characters. You're right. The continuity was strong. That's good. But I've tried to watch that because I did not watch it as a kid, and I do not like it at all.
This was the first time I collected. Like, it was the first time I had a collector community. You know, I met some, like, older people who collected, and we started... Lucas.
Sorry,
That's still my favorite thing that's been done.
I'm laughing at the chat, so...
Okay. Okay,
I always talk shit on Beast Wars, so
I started
bring
having-
her out of your mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Paul's views do not reflect those of other members of the show.
Look, I'll be the first to admit that season 1, you know, it takes them a little while to find their footing. But that's true of all good science fiction shows. It's the same thing with Star Trek: The Next Generation. You know,
I'm not saying the Beast Wars is bad. I'm just saying it's not as good as I remember. Like, I still enjoy it. I still like it.
I think
don't know what
season 2 is the pinnacle.
You trying to tell
I
Anna
hated season 2.
what she thinks about season 2 here, Nick?
I'm
what are you
telling
doing?
everybody that if you don't think season 2 of Beast Wars is some of the best Transformers that's ever been produced, you're wrong.
Is much better as an adult. I'm going to agree that might be possible as long as you watched it blindfolded.
The seeds of the future lie buried in the past.
I bet I could enjoy that series if I didn't look at it. I really do.
That's just mean. That is hateful, and I am offended on behalf of that show.
I didn't
There's no reason to call it out like that. That's just
Oh
rude.
goodness, Christian! I just didn't like the art design.
That's
the CG quality was fine.
You cannot like it. You can also be wrong.
The same guy who destroyed DC Comics.
But let me jump back like a few steps to Anna's first point into a joke we made earlier around Christian in the Unicron trilogy. How many people hate the Unicron trilogy, and yet a lot of us bought a ton of those toys?
Hey, look, toys are great.
Right,
You know,
but
Energon
that goes
Cybertron
back to
is
the
good
point
stuff.
that the fiction is trumped by the toys in Transformers.
Mhm.
Even with newer characters like Hotshot and I'm blanking on half the ones that came out. You know, Tidal Wave was an awesome toy. You know, you had toys trump fiction with Transformers far more than you do for most other toy lines.
That's true. It is weird.
I would say G1 was kind of the opposite, though, where, like, some of the fiction trumped the toys.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I totally admit that. Like, I look back, when I look at a lot of G1 toys, yeah, I see them differently than other people, but I can also realize a lot of these were bad, especially compared to...
Yeah, Ironhide and Ratchet were awful.
Yeah. I mean, it's, like, universally bad.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean they're not still collectible, and what they represent is more than what they are.
Right.
Yeah, because I did go all
That's a
through
good quote.
car robots or robots in disguise, whichever one you want to call it. I definitely like the car robots flair a lot better than the localization. But anyway, like that series, I only watched the first few episodes of because I couldn't find more of the dub at the time, and the localization was just butchered. It was messy. I didn't like it at all. So I only watched a couple episodes of it, but I collected the whole damn toy line because it was so good. And then I found out with Armada that there was a line, right? Like, I still bought the toys because I was like, I'm going to get the toys even if I don't like the fiction. I didn't really like the show. And then I realized, ooh, I shouldn't have done that because these toys do not pull themselves by themselves. Like, I had to wait a few years before a toy line could carry itself again.
But I think that's the delicate balancing act, too, is that in the 80s, they were writing the shows more for kids. It was, like, aimed at kids squarely. Whereas, like, now, it's, like, almost like they're writing for adults. And, I don't know, it's kind of both, I guess. Like, they're thinking of both audiences. They throw in, a lot of these shows, they throw in jokes that are for adults and whatnot. The kids just, totally goes over their head and whatnot. And then the same thing with the toy lines, too.
Okay, but like even Beast Wars had that. Find any new positions lately?
Oh, geez. I watched it as a kid, and I watched it as a teenager, and watched it as an adult, and every different time I watched it, there's something new.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that cartoons have changed a lot with like who they target, because we've been watching a little bit of like, kid-oriented cartoons just for funsies while we have like launched and things lately. And like some of the jokes are just like, references to movies that these kids have definitely not seen, that I definitely have seen.
But I mean, how much of your cultural education as a kid comes from Looney Tunes, where they're
Right.
referencing stuff that's 50 and 60 years out of date from the audience that was watching it?
It's true.
And like you learn all of this stuff that is, part of the American cultural zeitgeist or history or whatever you want to call it, all from older media. And I think it's the same way with the references in these kind of shows. They may not get it, like they may not know what it's referencing, but you pick up the reference.
Anyway, though, just kind of circling around to my old point, I do want to say, like, I bet every one of us on the show right now has at least one toy that he or she does not really know who the character is or care who the character is or have much of a connection to them. I bet we all have at least one that we're in that boat with. Maybe it's a lot for me.
Yeah.
Not when you only collect your favorite characters.
Well, that works for you.
Well, Paul's just perfect.
Just evil.
Yeah, like G2 Sandstorm, the new one that just came out. It's a cool looking jet. I like it.
The dude's
No
tight.
idea what his storyline is.
He doesn't have one yet. He's gonna. I'm sure.
I'm sure
they will put him in the horrible new comic and give him some horrible, awful design and horrible, terrible story.
But that toy represents something meta. Super meta and super fan wanky, and it is a cool toy. It's a fabulous deco, and
so good.
Blew my mind when it turned out to be the jet, because I was like, oh, Generation Select Sandstorm. Okay, cool. We're getting a Springer repaint. I'm totally prepared for that. Wrong.
There's even characters that like probably do have fiction that I like only because of like what the toys look like. Like I have every Wing Thing, right? And I really love Wing Thing. It's so pretty.
Hey, Wing Thing has fiction. He appeared in that one Regeneration 1 comic.
I bet he has fiction. I know none of it. I know that it's black and orange and a bat monster, and I think it's adorable.
He appeared in that one Regeneration 1 comic. That's his
Might
fiction.
be all of it.
Congrats. That's it.
He had a bio,
Nick wants
though.
to correct me on that. He does have a bio.
More than G2 Sandstorm got.
You're right.
That we know of. There could well be, because they're still finding stuff in those archives. There could well be a G2 Sandstorm bio.
Hey, I'm waiting for my G2 blackout to go.
See, they'll just they'll just discuss the bios like on the Fan First Fridays, and see that's how they'll do it from now on, right?
Yes. They
okay with that.
Handle that. She's nice.
Oh
it's
yeah,
not Forrest Lee anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we're kind of moving into the thing that I would say. What was the top? What amazes us?
You? Yeah.
What amazes me about Transformers has always been the characters, for sure. And I thought about this like all week. I mean, not like constantly, but when I was driving around, I was like, I wonder what I'm going to say. And it was definitely, it's always been the characterization. And, that has a lot to do with the writers. It also has a lot to do with the form of the character, I would say. And I think that, even though we are a toy-first brand, that stuff that Floro Deary did, had more impact on the future of Transformers than almost any other one person of the entire brand. I mean, I would love to see that crazy dude get in the Hall of Fame of the Transformers stuff. If Stan Bush is in there, I mean, come on, let's get this guy. Because the way he drew or simplified, the things he was presented with became just ubiquitous. I mean, those are the core base of the characters, and then you add the writers and the voice actors. It's a big team effort, and everyone was on their A game, even if they weren't trying to be. If they were just like, "Oh, this is a stupid toy commercial we're doing," didn't matter. It still turned out to be gold. It was amazing, and so it's just so much of the different voices on the cartoon, and like the attitudes they all had, that really stuck with me. And I watched the cartoon a lot as a kid, and I know Beast Wars has a lot of characterization, so I'll at least give it that. And a lot of series since have lacked that, especially like the machinima stuff was pretty rough.
War for Cybertron.
War for Cybertron's a little bit lacking, and it. Again, I think that maybe comes down to more of the voice acting than the writing, because you listen to the Frank Starscream, and that's pretty good. Like, that's fun.
Probably more the directing than the acting. I mean, the actors are probably doing the best they can with what they have. But
yeah, I mean, I don't
the
want to.
Machinima series had a
blame.
pretty stellar voice cast.
That's right. I mean, the second one had like Mark Hamill and all the
Ron
Will Wheaton
was in there. Yeah.
Yeah, Perlman.
Will Wheaton.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, like everything that went right about like the G1 cartoon went wrong with Machinima. Like the same ingredients did not create the same soup. So,
Did not.
Can I piggyback on your point, Paul?
No, you have to come up with an all new one.
Okay, well then I'll think about it. Pass them. No, what I wanted to say was that the characterization to me has never really ended where the show or the comic or the bio ended. For me, it's always been cool that you can take those characters and use your imagination and put them in different stories and, imagine different scenarios and build scenes with the toys and kind of, I mean, your characters are always the same characters, but they're not only the situations that are given to you. You can change them into other things.
That's a really good point, because, like, I didn't even realize as a kid how little characterization this guy got, right? Like, I'm holding up a Skywarp, and I did not realize, like, how little, like, he really did to differentiate himself from Thundercracker. Like, there really wasn't a whole lot to work with in the cartoon that I watched, but I thought he had a personality. I gave him a personality, and that lasted until there was actually fiction out there that really did give him a personality. Like, that was good enough. Like,
He's a teleporty guy. That's his thing. He teleports.
Right.
People downstairs. He sounds like Mr. Flintstone's boss. Or Fred Flintstone's boss.
That's right.
I always felt like there was a ton of difference between those three guys. Like, and it's, I don't know. It's like maybe because I watched the same episodes.
One's purple, one's blue. Duh.
Yeah. Well, I guess I always
have very many lines.
They didn't, but like Skywarp was always this arrogant kind of, I don't know.
He was kind of thuggish, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like thuggish.
Like, what's the episode where he's shooting Megatron with the anti-matter gun and like, what's his Chip Chase comes up and like puts something on his leg and he's like gonna shoot him with Megatron, the human. I mean, like, that was brutal. So yeah, he's just kind of he's a thug. Yeah, but Thundercracker had some like, I don't know, introspection in a way in certain episodes, and they always got mad at Starscream for messing with him. But again, this is me rewinding the same like 5 or 6 episodes that these characters were in a lot as a kid, and I just ate it all up. So like the small amount of characterization was enough for me that as I grew older, it never dawned on me that.
Because I think what they did really well is they gave these characters who had minor amount of screen time these archetype kind of roles. And like, look at Huffer. How much did Huffer have screen time? But the one episode where he's like, Prime, I'll take your trailer for you. Like this little dude, like the toy, you knew how small the toy was, and he's putting Prime's trailer on him to help Prime out. It's like, that's all I remember of Huffer from the cartoon, to be honest with you. Maybe getting stomped on by Trypticon too. But for the most part, he had very little screen time or lines, but they did enough to have that character have a moment that stood out. And I think the vast majority, especially the Autobots, had those moments.
Dinobots! I thought you were going to make dinosaurs!
He does say that. Yeah, Gears had his whole episode. The only one who doesn't really get that is Windcharger, but even he kind of hangs around, and he has a magnet power, which is cool.
Yeah, wears a lab coat.
Because
he does wear a lab coat. It's very stylish.
Until you get
an episode. Right, they didn't get like a character arc. They got an episode.
Until you get to the end of season 3 or whatever, where you just shove all the characters into like a couple episodes, right?
That's more a Rebirth thing.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's neat that they have so many characters and such a deep roster. You know that, like, you could have like a James Roberts. It's like, here, take all these guys, put them on a ship, and whatever, and do whatever you want with them. You know, kind of thing. And that he could have the freedom to do that. That there's enough characters where he could almost kind of like, you know, put his imprint on them as well.
So you know how everyone said, well, not everyone, but people say about Pokemon that, you know, every Pokemon is someone's favorite Pokemon. I feel like it's that way with Transformers. Like, every Transformer is someone's favorite Transformer. Like, someone out there,
except for Wheelie.
No one likes Wheelie. Someone's out there, you know, loving on Submarauder, and someone out there really, really loves Sky High, both the Micromaster and the Pretender. Like, that's their dude because they got it for Christmas that year from that special, you know, family member that passed away the next day. You know, something. It's something that
The next day.
Wow.
Someone enters a toy in their heart. Look, man, I'm making up some.
Sorry, Steve. Uncle Billy made your Christmas and he died the next day.
That's what happens, man.
You're making a good narrative. This is
Too much eggnog, Drew.
Your childhood was obviously traumatic.
Wow.
Like, you know, for me, it's like Beast Wars Buzzsaw. Who else gives a crap about Beast Wars Buzzsaw? But you know who owns his Beast Machines concept art and the original concept art for his card? Me. I own that. Because I care about that character for no reason. Actually, there's a reason. We can do that later if you want.
That's the thing. Like, we're all able to find our reasons, right? Like, I don't even bother, like, seeing, you know, what Transformer I get the most excited about, because it's freaking Glyph, you know, and Glyph doesn't have very much of anything, but I just, like, you know, her little bit of fiction, I resonate with that character. And it's like, I pick out that one very minor, very obscure, very not having any good toys that I like, and yeah, that's all I needed, was just that little bit of a thread to be like, ooh, I can actually identify with that character. That's exciting, and it's cool. I like that.
I don't know what that is, because my kids do the same thing where they like will attach to whatever like minor character. Like my kid had a Nemesis Prime birthday. Like, I don't. Like,
Wait, he
why
had a
Nemesis
birthday
Prime?
around Nemesis Prime?
That's
Yes.
what's up.
That's
That's what's up.
sick.
Not Scourge. Nemesis Prime.
Nemesis Prime.
No, it was Nemesis Prime, and then he did a Beedrill birthday was another one that he had. Like, they always do
great.
this where he comes up like it can't be whatever the main character is. It has to be some oddball one. So yeah.
But I think if you go back to this idea of what survived the 80s and what didn't, when you look at Transformers and G.I. Joe, I would say those two properties probably survived the 80s the best. Both of them had huge casts. You had your mainstays. You had your Dukes, your Optimus Prime, your Lady Jays. But then you had all these other characters that you could pick who was your favorite. You could build one character up from a minor 30-second blip of Trax flying around with his Corvette with the wings, and it's like, you know, an arrogant dude that, you know, got maybe more screen time than most, but like still not a ton. And it's like, that's my guy. And you could do that too with G.I. Joe, but you know, He-Man was He-Man. You had a little side buddy that popped up here and there, you know, that would pop up for a couple episodes, but it was He-Man show. Thundercats, it was all about Lion-O, and then a smaller cast of characters around him too. But G.I. Joe and Transformers, just sprawling, massive cast of characters.
And it's funny.
Like that since then.
A lot of them.
Pokemon's
Yeah,
kinda like
Pokemon.
that.
Yeah,
Right,
Pokemon.
like I mentioned,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other Transformer shows don't do that, and I think maybe they have less staying power because of that. Even Beast Wars, as good as it is, and as revered as it is, or animated for the same reason, like there's not a ton of characters on those shows.
Yeah, same with Prime.
Same with Prime.
I mean, Prime, I think, just had amazing storytelling, and again, good voice cast and whatnot. So that I think holds up. You know, you could say even Animated kept adding more characters to it. So Animated at least, you know, expanded things a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you don't have many shows like you did back in the 80s because, I mean, obviously designing all those characters is a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is now is they always know that there's going to be an end point to these cartoons nowadays, right? Like they figure, oh, it's going to go a few years and then that's going to be that. Whereas I don't think that they necessarily knew that about Transformers, like when they were doing it. It just kind of, like at the time, just kind of petered out at the end.
I was just going to say, I know a lot of you all don't watch as much anime as I do, but a lot of the mainstream shonen anime really pushes that whole giant cast thing. Like, I know a lot of my friends were into Bleach back in the day, and, like, you know, the cast of characters for Bleach is ridiculous. Yeah, that's not a word. Is ridiculous, right? It's wild how many, like, minor little characters that they don't get a lot of screen time, but there's just so many people. There'll be, like, episodes that are just like, here's a list of new characters, and you're going to have to deal with them. Have fun. And I feel like, you know, that model does work in other fiction. I just feel like a lot of the like Western fiction we watch doesn't really do that otherwise. You know, it was kind of a Transformers thing, a toy line thing. But for those anime, it isn't usually a toy line thing. It's just the way they do it with lots of characters.
It worked with Game of Thrones.
That's true.
Till the end.
Until it didn't.
Zaldner brought up that Cyberverse has had a really large cast as well, so...
And they've done more of that whole, like, bring them in for an episode or two type of deal. Like, you don't have to have them be the core part. They don't have to be a Bumblebee or a Windblade, but they will just show up a little bit, do a few things.
Okay, but, like, 2 episodes of Cyberverse is still only 15 seconds.
They're getting a movie. It's going to be a whole 20 minutes.
Are they really?
I read that. I thought I read that a month or so ago.
Movies.
Well,
Yeah.
No, stop it.
Come on.
I should really, like,
You wanna
Cyberverse is actually pretty good.
You want to see Wild Wheel and Hammerbite duke it out?
I don't.
I do.
Do you?
I mean,
don't know,
I do want to see more Hammerbite. Yeah, Hammerbite was cool.
Okay. Well, I hope you guys have fun with it.
Cyberverse may arguably be better than the new Transformers Netflix show, so...
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah,
I had more
is,
fun watching it.
Cyberverse is gonna age well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a good story. And just, I think people got really pushed away by the first few episodes being kind of like, you know, silly and kid-friendly. But I really think, like, people who actually get into it will realize it's a pretty cool show.
I made it through 1 to 100 of those. I can't, with the time thing, I can't tell how many episodes it was. It was a bunch. And I still couldn't do it.
Did you do season 2? Because I hear it gets better with season 2.
Dude, I don't even remember anymore.
Did you get away from the Bumblebee-centric episodes?
I did. They were on an asteroid, and they were Grimlock and Optimus were getting chased by some sort of spidery creature underground that was powered by Energon. They couldn't take its Energon because it was part of the ecosystem.
That's not very far.
Yeah, that's
a
pretty early.
memory.
It's like episode 7.
That's one of Bumblebee's memories.
Well, that's where I got.
See, there you go. You need to get past that. Push past it.
Yeah, you gotta get past it. You just gotta watch the first season of Beast Wars, and then you'll love it. You'll love it, Paul. It's so good.
Yeah, they're saying in the chat you actually get past season 2.
Yeah, I don't think a show should take 2 whole seasons to find its footing.
It
It gets done in one episode of Beast Wars.
There you go.
You can watch the whole season in during the time of one episode of Beast Wars, so it's all good.
You're right. I hate that model. It needs to stop. Anyway, I'm just old and curmudgeonly. Don't listen to me anymore.
Yes, Paul and I are both older than you.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't get to pull the old card in this group.
I had a birthday last week. Can I be old now? Jeez.
No. You don't get that.
Nope. Forever the baby.
We're gonna be
I'm not even the
80 and
youngest on the
70, and I'm still
show.
gonna call you a kid.
There are at least 2 people on the show cast younger than I am.
Well,
They're not here right now, Christian.
does Sergio
No.
count? Phil's on the show more than Sergio.
Okay. Jack is younger than I am. Jack is the actual baby of the show.
There you go. All right. We just need to recruit, more young cast, I guess, for you, Christian, so you feel better.
Yeah, but then we need to tell them how what they like about Transformers is wrong, and they need to like what we like.
That is true.
We don't do that here. We just do it in jest.
No, I'm all for blood.
We all respect the things that the rest of us are into, right? We don't make fun of them for it. We respect our interesting hobby approaches.
But back to Christian's point, if every Transformer is someone's favorite Transformer, if someone come on the show and said Armada Sideswipe's my dude, no, it's gone.
Look, man, Sideswipe had an interesting arc of being Hotshot's fanboy for some reason. He almost got murked by Wheeljack that time. Hotshot had to go
I do remember that. It was like all of a sudden you bring in Wheeljack, like, no, this dude's playing for actual stakes. This is not,
Right? He's the only one there playing for real.
Yeah.
Way too serious for that show. Oh, Wheeljack. Nick, what's amazed you about Transformers forever?
When random things that I thought would never ever get a toy. That's the stuff that always amazes me. My favorite stuff in the world is when it's so obscure and so random. And if you'd have told me, I don't know, 10 years ago, someday you will have a toy of Cordon and Spin Out, and I'd be like, who the hell are they? I've never heard those names before.
They didn't even have names 10 years ago.
Not one. Two.
Right. Yeah,
Two
and there's a
toys of
masterpiece
those
for each one of them,
Yeah.
too. Like, what universe is this that we live in where we get these amazing, concepts brought to life that were lost in someone's drawer at Hasbro for 20 years, 30 years?
Yeah,
And
that's the thing. Because
That's a
when
good
I
answer.
really get into an anime and I like one of the obscure characters, I can't find merchandise of them. Right? Like maybe I can find a keychain or something, but I can't find a cool statue or a figure or anything. But Transformers, you get freaking prototypes that never existed and Diaclone characters and whatever.
It's why I haven't given up hope for my G2 Protectobot set. Maybe it'll happen.
But here's the thing with Transformers. It did take nearly 40 years to get to this point. So if you just wait it out.
I'm a patient man.
Yeah.
It kind of amazes me that now that the club is over, that they're still kind of continuing on that oddball stuff. Like, I would have thought when they ended, I was like, all right, we're only going to get Optimus and Prowl and Bumblebee and whatever. But the fact, I just love that the crew is, they came up with this Generation Selects thing. And it seems like it's successful, too. I mean, all of those toys have sold out. I don't know, what the... like how many they're making of each of these, but they seem to be selling
Probably
out
more than they were making of BotCon toys.
Yeah.
So that's a check and a win column. They all sell out, and most of them wind up commanding a premium on the secondary market because they've sold out. So people want the stuff. It is, I would say, it's a success. So now, if only I could get the replacement hand for my god Neptune.
Yeah, no, that's the lame thing about some of these exclusives now. Is if you do have a problem, it's really hard to, source replacement parts.
Yeah, there's no walking up to the information booth and swapping out parts with whatever donor set they have on hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be something for next year.
That's a good point. It kind of goes with a couple of our other points, Nick. Just I haven't lost hope, even though we've already gotten several, repurposes, repaints of the Cliffjumper mold. I'm still really hoping we get a glyph.
It'll happen.
There's been no rumors, no hints of it, nothing so far, but I'm really hoping we do. And it's a reasonable hope, right? Yeah, they made a comic for her, so I'm really hopeful that it's going to happen. If this was any other series, I would have totally lost hope at this point. I would have been like, I'm going to commission an artist to draw me a picture and I'm going to be done with it. But since it's Transformers, I figure, an obscure one comic character is going to get a toy.
It'll happen.
Just got to wait it out.
It's going to happen.
It'll be some store exclusive next year in 2021. You'll see.
That's fine. I might even go outside for that one.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
So.
The thing that's kind of amazed me, and this isn't really all that interesting, but just the amount of product we've been getting. I feel like I am overloaded. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't counted up. Like, I really need to do Christian's budget for the month of December because I shouldn't.
Don't
You've
do
done
it.
it?
You don't want to know that answer. You don't want to know the answer. I promise you don't want to know.
Like, so Christian, has kind of talked about that he has like a shelf of all the stuff that he hasn't opened yet. Like it's gotten that bad, right? And I was like, how could you ever be like that? And now I'm like that. I have a pile of items. It's like I can't open it all.
Bought furniture for this specific situation because it kept happening. I didn't want to have piles on the ground or random cardboard boxes. I bought a nice rack from IKEA that holds all that stuff.
I'm actually worried about the top shelf of my closet because that's where I keep my unopened stuff. I'm actually worried that I'm going to eventually break it.
That could
These
be
things
bad.
happen. Yeah, right? I've heard.
It has been just impressive to see how much stuff they're pumping out now. It didn't used to be like, we would get the BotCon stuff, and if you got that, you could kind of make up for it. But they weren't like easily attainable. Like the general public wouldn't get BotCon stuff. Now, like, even though the select stuff is exclusive, I mean, it's way more available than the BotCon ever was. But now there's like just a ton of stuff here. Get all the stuff. It's like the Earthrise line is like 25 figures or whatever, and now it's like 70 figures because there's so many selects things. I'm probably exaggerating those numbers, both small and large, but probably not by much.
I mean, I think the select stuff, they sell it to wholesalers in cases of 24. So, like, you can't buy one. You have to buy 24 at a time, which is a huge amount compared to anything else that a retailer gets. So they must be making a lot of them. I'm not saying they're making them on the same level as the other stuff, but,
right. But
it's not like 5,000. It's like 5 digits at least.
Yeah, I truly wonder what the numbers on that are. The last numbers I have on production runs was that in 2004, a run of 10,000 was low. That's the latest number I have.
Just depends on where they're going to distribute it and in how many countries, so.
The kid born the year of that statistic is now driving.
That's true.
Sportmas brings up too that we didn't touch on that the selects are pretty much retail price, whereas like the BotCon never was. So
never.
Like it's kind of really amazing. Cool. It's amazing that they've managed to fit that into that price point. Some of the exclusives they've thrown in, Target Masters or just whatever to kind of like up the price a little bit, but it's not bad at all.
Yeah, I forget which ones are selects. Because they're the same price. Sometimes it makes me make weird decisions. Like, I haven't gotten Fast Track, but I got this because it's prettier.
Yeah.
It's the same price. It's the same figure. It's just a prettier color version. And I don't need it to match Scorponok perfectly or anything, so...
Still can't believe that exists.
I know, it's so
crumbles
cool.
to dust at some point in the future.
I love this thing.
Not gonna crumble to
I hope
dust.
it doesn't crumble.
Well, my guess on why the selects are able to stay at the same price point is they're all using the same box. Yeah. So all they got to make is a sticker. There's not character art. Like all the things that add up to the cost of an individual figure, they remove it all so they can make a lower run, but still, not charge a premium.
And it's typically a repaint.
Yeah, it's typically a repaint, but they can also use the same box to a point that some other random company can take that toy, put the plastic inside their own generic box, and give it as like a vendor gift.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
That was odd.
That's really odd.
That's crazy. I bet that
happens
happens more often.
Dell?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was Dell with the jet powered
Chromar.
Yeah, there we go.
There, in the chat, Sportimus made another good point that I kind of want to jump off of is with the engineering. They said that, the engineering is one of the most amazing things about Transformers. And I want to jump off that because Transformers has got into a weird place. Like back in, the 80s, even though they were simple robots and they were pretty good vehicles, they were really impressive from an engineering perspective because you could fold a car into a robot. And for back then, that was really amazing. But now we've gotten to this really weird spot where we essentially had Hasbro grab onto Transformers and make them with the same amount of articulation and non-transforming with the Red series that we see in like Marvel Legends. And these days, our actual transforming toys, and maybe I should hold up one that people don't call a shell former, our actual transforming toys actually have
And this is a
more
parts former.
articulation than the mainstream like humanoid figures, like the Marvel Legends and stuff. Like when we went to the Red series, people said, well, our regular Transformers actually have more articulation than those things. And this guy totally does, right? He's got all sorts of rotation and joints and everything else, extra stuff for transformation, plus all the humanoid joints you could want. So I think it's really impressive that it's both, you know, a feat of engineering that, you know, this can come apart and turn into something else, or, you know, these other toys can fold into something else. And at this point, they are like they're the premium articulation of action figures right now, right? They're both the most interesting engineering and the most articulated. Just cool.
Well, I think it's just amazing that they keep trying to build on each other. I mean, you just see this where, like, someone comes out with some type of new transformation, and then you see that, like, whether or not it be in Masterpiece or third party or in the mainline, and, like, a lot of the mainline stuff that, like you're mentioning now, with the articulation and whatnot, is copying a lot of that engineering from Masterpiece and third party, kind of simplifying it down and whatnot. But I think that that's the thing that kind of keeps it fresh for a lot of us. You know, it's like, why do you keep buying these toys? And it's because everything, like, they always do something that's a little bit different. It's not the same thing. Like, the toy we get today is not the same we got 5 years ago.
It's true.
Earthrise, Starscream, and the Seekers maybe the exception there.
A little close.
Yeah, but even they do it better.
Yeah,
than
no, they
used to.
do. They do. I will say, man, in terms of engineering, you know, the new Prime Air Viacon and Breakdown set, transforming that Viacon dude again, the way, like, all those pieces fold up into the legs. Gosh, that's so much fun.
And that did come back around. They used it in Punch Counter Punch. From Power the Prime / Select Galaxy.
God, I didn't even think about that. Wow, I haven't played with him that much.
Yeah, it does the top of the car into the leg thing.
Nice.
Not as well, but it does it.
Yeah, there's just so many layers in that hood to roof to legs that was just outstanding.
Yeah,
Good to meet
I
you.
think they're
Phil, have you
also
gone?
impressive.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Christian, are you going to go, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. So I didn't have a thing when I started this episode because I was asked to come in on short notice, and that's cool because I'm glad I'm here. But what has amazed me, especially out of all of your answers so far, is that Transformers still has staying power. I mean, we've talked about things that have amazed us over long periods of time. A lot of properties don't get that, especially with the consistency that Transformers has. You know, with the exception of 1 or 2 years in America in the early 90s, there have always been Transformers. There's Transformers when you guys were kids. There's Transformers when I was kids. There's Transformers when there's kids now. For, like, Phil's kids, Lucas's kids. Like, there's always stuff. And everyone's said that the fiction's always there. The toys are always improving. I think that's really cool. I don't know, there's always a Transformers something for everybody.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think that's
I was just gonna say,
It's
I
really
don't necessarily,
something.
I don't necessarily know that I like Transformers was like the top property for me when I was a kid, but it's become that for me, you know, over the last number of years, just because of that staying power.
it brings people around eventually because it's always there. So eventually you'll get into Transformers in some way.
Okay.
And sometimes you
Robotina.
imitate them.
Robo.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
that's what dinosaurs was. I was wondering why
Robo-Anna.
Paul was having dinosaurs talk to each other. But
It was
Little
robot. Talk.
what I was saying is that it runs for so long that it'll eventually bring people around, right? Like, I've try to get friends who never buy Transformers into buying at least one Transformer with the Back to the Future and Ghostbusters crossovers, because it's like, I bet you need to buy a Transformer now. Look at this, it's an Ecto 1. And they do it because now Transformers has affected them, and that's the way it goes. But it's really impressive that, I was also thinking just the other day, Christian, I was thinking about, like, as a kid, I thought that there was this period where Transformers disappeared. Like, I was pretty sure that, like, there was, like, a 10-year gap where there were no Transformers. And then looking back at it, no, it was, like, 2 years at most. And it was, like, G1 tapered off. There was a while without a cartoon in the States, between G1 and Beast Wars. But as far as, like, without the toys on the shelves, it was a short period where the toys weren't on the shelves before they came back with Beast Wars. And then, since then, it's just been an infection.
But time passes so much slower when you're younger that it sure felt like 18 years.
Oh, man, Beast Wars went on forever. Like, I grew up with Beast Wars, but it was only like 3 years. What happened? The answer was I was a child.
I really want to tell a story right now.
Sure, go ahead.
It's about Beast Wars.
You're at that age.
So
This isn't the time for talking, Paul.
I'll go. I don't remember how old I was. I was definitely like in junior high or high school. But the virtual reality, like game places in the malls were kind of showing up at the time, and it was really bad virtual reality. It was like you stepped into a kind of a container thing with a circle and like put a mask on. And so I went into one of those at the mall, and I think to supplement the income of this place, the guy was selling toys or something. And he was an older gentleman, I don't know, probably 40, 50, and I was a teenager. Somehow we got to talking about Transformers, me and this guy. And he said something about, man, have you been seeing any of that Beast Wars crap on TV? And I'm like, no, I didn't even know what it was. I was like, this is how I learned about it. He's like, they don't even turn into vehicles. I was like, whoa, that doesn't sound right. Yeah, it was literally like the quintessential, flame war, but I lived it in a microcosm. I never went back to that virtual reality store after that interaction.
Fun fact, that gentleman was Don.
the way I spoke to him, yes. This was in, actually wasn't in Iowa. It was across the big old river in Illinois. So, South Park Mall. That's it. But, the struggle was real, even in real time back then.
I think that's part of why we feel like there was a hole there, was a lot of people just completely rejected Beast Wars at first. I did, until I met those collector people, and they were like, come on, kid, give Beast Wars a chance. And I was like, it's not like that one Beast Wars figure I own, which was Rat Trap, is one of my favorite things or anything. No, I totally hate these. And then I finally started playing with them, and I was like, oh, they're good. They're all ball joints, but they're good.
I desperately want a new Silverbolt.
Yeah,
for sure.
Depth charge for me, but
Oh, yeah.
Phil, you got one in Combiner Wars.
What?
Silverbolt. They made him in Combiner Wars.
Yes.
Silverbolt hair.
Yeah, different. I want the Wolf Eagle. Actually, no, I want the Condor. I want the Beast Machine's Condor. With the Condor
toy.
head,
It never
still
had
as
a
the
decent
crotch.
toy.
as sick as it sounds, I still want that too. Like, that toy was horrible. That character was horrible. But he's part of it.
I enjoyed Beast Machines. I've talked about this before, and I've been lambasted for it. I get it, but Beast Machines is what brought me back. The animation I thought was higher quality. The cartoon, the episode had stakes to it, and
The seeds of the future lie buried in the past.
They do.
Yeah.
I
But,
didn't like it
and then
as
you
a
had vehicles
kid.
again too. It wasn't all just apes and birds and rhinoceroses.
No, Beast Machines actually had a lot of positives to it. It's just like when I looked back at the toys, they were again a step down from Beast Wars. Like, I did not like the Beast Machines toys as much, just
the
because I
show
didn't like the designs as much.
The show characters were a step down. The non-show characters were pretty good or on par.
Some of them were pretty cool, yeah.
Night
for
Viper
sure.
is straight fire.
Yeah.
Quick
Yeah,
Strike,
that's a really neat
no.
toy.
Gecko Bot.
No.
Hey, Anna, didn't you say that you bought all the Beast Machines, or am I wrong
I
on
bought
that?
every single Beast Machines toy because I was
Battle
a
Unicorn.
teenager who had an income. I get big money, and I bought all of them, and I liked like 4 of them the entire run. That would have been my
She
biggest
still-
oof the other week.
Still has her her Supreme Class Cheetor. Sleeps with her every night.
Don's favorite character toy.
All I actually have left are the 2 versions of Black Arachnia I have because I actually legitimately like that toy, but it's one of like 4 toys from that line I legitimately like.
Now, did you toss
I'm
them in
gonna
a landfill, or?
No, I sold them over the course of like 7 years. It took forever. They're finally all gone, but it took so long. No one wanted them.
I gotta go back and buy some deployers before too much longer.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I had my deployers for so long. They wouldn't go anywhere.
You know, you would think with all of the Battle Masters and Target Masters and whatever else they've been doing, they would have done some of the Deployers characters as a new Battle Master or something.
There's only 3 of them. There's
Yeah.
6 of them if you want to get froggy, but
Sure.
like, there's 3 of them.
I'm kind of surprised that didn't happen.
Is there
And we got
anybody who
Kingdom.
would be
and we
like,
can have
"Oh,
the new
man,
Battle
it's
Masters
so-"
in Kingdom.
Mm.
Is there really anybody out there who would be like, "Oh my goodness, they made a Dillo. I'm so happy."
There's somebody. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Dillo's my favorite Transformer.
So Lucas, what do you think so amazing
Yeah.
about
You made up this topic.
trans farmers?
I said that. That was amazing. We're getting so much stuff lately. That was
He
it.
already went. I don't think Phil's gone though.
Fine.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, what's amazing about Transformers, what still holds is you know the '80s movie. I mean, looking just over Paul's shoulder there at Unicron, the first time you see him transform from a planet into that robot was just like, just mind blowing, insane. You know, all the designs from the movie, like just everything from that movie was just hit me at the right spot at my adolescence or my youth, whatever, of just like, this is amazing. Like Hot Rod just plowing through the barricade to go to Lookout Mountain, and the 80s rock in the background, like that just blew my like little kid brain. And yeah, there's so much of that just still resonates. Almost anything movie toy, character I will go and buy, and just, I love those designs. And that is the thing that, again, it was a show, it was a thing that had stakes when most cartoons didn't have any stakes. And the designs were great, and it treated you more like an adult than the vast majority of other, kids fiction that was out there. And from a kid who grew up on Star Wars to suddenly have this, crazy space battle going on that was as big and epic as what you had in Star Wars. Like, you didn't, like, just looking back at movies in the 80s, like, not many movies in the 80s had the scale that the Transformers movie did. Like, you had Star Wars, and you had the Transformers movies, and like, those felt big and epic. Like, what else was out there at that time? Like, until you start kind of getting into, like, into some of the Matrix movies, and then with the Marvel universe, like, you didn't have the scale and just the sense of consequence that movie did.
That's a good point. Like, there's actually never been anything that's come close to as massive as the Unicron battle with Cybertron. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is when the Zentradi show up at Earth in Macross.
Sure.
That's the only thing that comes
Remember
close.
man.
Yeah, but
Even the opening, like, 2 minutes,
right,
where this planet just eats another planet.
Like, the genocide of a
That
whole
was
race.
just like crazy.
Yeah. This wasn't like Galactus, like, showing up, like, turning the planet into energy and absorbing it into a ship. Like, no, this thing had giant mandibles that crunched into the planet's core, and we're scraping along as like all the beings were being sucked up into it. It's like, how do you not see that and just be like, what insane acid trip of a cartoon am I watching?
Well, and I feel like it was so jarring compared to the cartoon like that came before it as well with Transformers. It's like I just can't even imagine, like being in the theater and just just blowing your mind like you said as a kid.
This issue, everyone dies.
Yeah.
Did you not see it in the theater, Lucas? Were you too cool for that as a young buck?
I honestly don't remember, like, if I did or not. Like, it doesn't necessarily register. So, I remember seeing it, but I don't remember if I saw it on videotape or in the theater.
Yeah,
I was pretty young at the time.
I have a memory of seeing it in the theater, but I was 3. So I just don't know if that's true,
Yeah.
I did not see it in the theaters when it came out. Yeah, 86.
No,
yeah, I was 4. I know I saw it in the theater, but I don't remember anything about it. And I know that like I rented it from the video store anytime I could rent something from the video store.
The what? No, I'm just kidding. That's where I got mine too. You got that,
I remember seeing the previews for it on TV, and I'd seen many other movie previews, but it's like check your local listings and time is what they used to say. Mm-hmm. And I remember when that one came out, I was like, how do I do that? How do I find out where this is? And I think I told my mom, like, I didn't think like you could just go. I thought like it was a very special. I thought like you had to be invited to go see a movie or something. Or I don't know. I was too little, but
invitation only.
But like I said something to my parents, I'm like, gotta go. Like, what is this? Like, I must see this. And it was great. I remember when he said shit, I was like, oh. That's great. I don't remember being super like upset I was shocked when Prowl died. Like then I was like, then my hands were like firmly implanted on the roller coaster bars at that point. So I like was okay. Like when everyone just started biting it didn't like freak me out, but it was awesome. It's still awesome. A good pick, Phil, because like especially right now with the Studio Series stuff coming.
Yeah, no, it just that thing is seared into my brain probably more than any other pop culture thing is. Or very few other things are seared into me. Like Christmas time, I get like the nostalgia pop culture stuff. Like I'm showing my son the old Donald Duck and Chip and Dale Christmas cartoons and watching the old Muppet specials, and those are seared because I would watch them so much. But like it's like that sort of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Transformers the movie, man. Like I don't know like what else is just that I have just consumed enough times to just be in awe with it. And again, it's one of those things that I saw it in the theater. I remember just my mind being blown with all the new cool stuff. I mean, Hot Rod and Cup and Blur were all just crazy awesome. I don't know if I was that upset that the G1 characters died because the new ones that replaced them were just so sleek and futuristic looking and great. And it's kind of funny that you mentioned it, Paul. Like, I don't remember seeing commercials. I'm sure I did, because I know I wanted to see it, but I don't recall like seeing commercials. So I remember my dad took me and my next door neighbor Matt Shepard to go see it, and it was just mind-blowingly epic for my 5-year-old brain.
It's crazy that it bombed so bad too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not crazy. It's not crazy because it was a kid's cartoon. That like you kill the main character for the show. I mean, there's like so much that's just. But it was kind of ahead of its time. It sounds cliche, but
it certainly was. But there was also a Care Bears movie like around the same time.
Oh yeah,
and that did not bomb. That was actually a big movie because I remember my sister was my sister's 7 years older than me, but or maybe the neighbor girl. My mom was trying to get us to go to the movie, and every time we went, there was a line of people waiting to get into the film, and we couldn't get tickets because you did not buy tickets ahead of time back then. So I remember going to the movie theater and going through the same song and dance 2 or 3 times. I didn't want to see the Care Bears movie, but like we were trying to go with the neighbor girl or take the neighbor girl, and my mom failed like 2 or 3 times trying to get to see it. So that was a big one. So it would have made sense. Like, oh, the female focused toy line movie did great. Let's do this crazy boy one. But oops, it just didn't happen.
I was in a job interview 2 weeks ago, and one of the throw me off the normal job interview questions was, "What's your favorite movie?" In no hesitation, Transformers the movie. Zero hesitation. And then I asked it back to the dude. He's like, "Oh, The Departed." I'm like, "Okay, those are clearly on the same level." Got it.
Yeah, you failed that one.
Now, did he think you meant the Transformers live action movie or the original? Did you make sure?
Thank God. I made sure.
And like,
You got it all out there.
You didn't want him to think you're a complete moron.
Yeah, because
no.
dude
But
interviewing
then
can
just like,
discern
I
the
love
difference.
all the Shia LaBeouf stuff. Like, right as his name is getting in the news for all his crazy nonsense.
My
Sad,
backup,
sad
my setup. If you need something more modern, my favorite modern movie is Pacific Rim.
I don't know if that's better. Like,
You know what, man?
Really?
Favorite movie.
dude, I love it. I've got so many of those toys. Like, Paul's
So
seen
good.
them, but still, it's just like from like a dude doing an interview. It's like whose favorite movie is The Departed, which is like, again, a good movie, but that's a little bit of a broy movie. It
was an interview at a tech company. I'm sure I'll be in fine company.
You should have
Yeah.
said, clearly you should have said hackers is Euro cool, baby. You know, like Hacker Planet. That's what they were looking for. You don't tell them Transformers until you got the job.
It's true.
I don't care. I had to hide how much I loved Transformers as a kid because it was not cool in the 90s to be larger and like Transformers. Turtles were big, Batman was big. Transformers, no. Get the hell out of the playground.
Now,
so
when
I
you
had to hide for a really long time. I don't hide anymore.
when you did the interview, did you make sure to do it from your collection room with like your collection behind you?
It's this same
You're like,
setup.
this
Like,
is
it's
it?
behind me.
Like, this is it.
Gold.
Someone actually did comment on them behind. 2 people commented. I had a whole panel of interviews and
It's a
do
bold
like 6
strategy,
within a
Cotton.
week.
Let's see if it
And
pays off for him.
2 of them really liked what was behind me. It was great.
There you go.
Whatever, man.
Honesty is not always the best policy
I don't care anymore.
in America.
like here's my thought. Do you get more points for being honest because they're catching you off guard, or do you like? Yeah, that's such
The
a
best-
random interview question. Like, I would never ask that. Like, what are you learning from that?
I think it's just trying to loosen you up to be yourself. And
Right.
truth be told, the best jobs I've had have been where I've been myself and nothing more or less.
Of course.
And this one I really want, so hopefully
Next
they like
time.
Transformers the movie too.
Hey, good luck.
Next time, say Blue Velvet and see if anything
Well, it's a
happens.
toss-up between Deep Throat and Debbie Does Dallas.
It's not going to go well, Nick. He's going to have to explain.
What kind of question is that?
Well, I'm kind of a connoisseur of Bible Black, but I sort of like Bible Black too.
Wow.
Book of the Demon or whatever it's called something.
No, don't pretend that you don't know. Like, I like it that he's like, no. I mean, I think it might be called this. I don't know.
I don't know what
I
either
knew
is
it.
saying.
I knew at one point. I'm not
Is
pretending I
this
didn't.
going to be like the part of the show where people start Googling things? It's like, oh God! No! Mommy!
Avert your eyes.
Mommy, what are they talking about?
Look what you two have done.
I mean, I voted
With
for the
my
Lemon Party
adorable
this year.
story about always being yourself. Wow, look what you've done.
That was a good message, Christian. It was a good message. And then it got really misconstrued.
Yeah.
Well, because Paul started being himself, and that was just a bad path to go down.
Honesty isn't always the best policy.
No, the movie play is really cool because of something that I said earlier about how, like, you know, I can admit that G1 wasn't actually the world's greatest storytelling in the world, right? Like, the cartoon was not super perfect. And then when people say that Beast Wars wasn't good either, I'm not offended because I go back and watch it. I'm like, no, it wasn't that great. When people say the Armada wasn't that good, I'm like, yeah, I didn't really like that story. But the Transformers movie, when people say, you know, oh, that story made no sense, I'm just like, no, it made perfect sense. What the hell are you talking about? Or if they say like the
It's an easy
animation is
story.
bad, I'm like, that's like some of the most beautiful cartoon animation I've ever seen. Why don't you shut up?
Who
Or if
has
they
told you the
say
animation
that the
is bad?
music is
Give me
bad,
their names. I'm going after
who
them.
are these people?
but they're like I want to say
These are
commenters.
not the people
that
you
sounds
need
real
in your
bad.
life. People tell you
But, like-
movie animation's terrible. No, you need to get those people out of your life.
I can't remember who it was,
Sure.
but when we went to one of the screenings, like I've seen screenings of this movie so many times at various events, but someone was like legitimately joking about how bad the music was during the movie, and like I wanted to assault them. I was so angry.
You should
Yeah.
have.
I
That's a
never
worthy
get
cause
like
to go to
that.
jail for.
Like nothing's sacred to me, really. Like I don't really worry about that, but that damn movie, apparently, I would protect it. Like I'm like, no, that music is good. It fits so well. It's perfect. There's no other music that could be there. It's perfect.
Right.
It is.
But that's an
super.
easy way to tell like who your friends are and who your enemies are.
Right? Enemies.
It's like cross them
Yeah,
off the list.
There's no in between there.
Did you
You're with me
immediately
or you're
put
my
your
enemy.
finger in their chest and say, nothing's going to stand in my way? Not tonight.
They would have got the reference. I would have cried more.
It's amazing
Wait.
how quotable that film is. It's just unreal. Like there's so many super classic lines that have never been repeated. You know, like I've got better things to do tonight than die. I mean,
That's
this
the
is
best
such
line in the movie.
so good.
That is such like a quintessential 80s action hero line, too.
Oh, yeah.
No one
You would
says
expect something like
anything
that
like it.
to come out of, like, Predator or Terminator.
I ain't got time to
Right.
read.
Yeah,
Any
right.
Schwarzenegger
Right.
movie, really.
But like,
Or
you know,
Rocky.
Yeah.
look at Cybertronic Spree. You have a band that all they do is dress as those characters and play the songs from that movie. And like, granted, they're not like, giant mega worldwide rock stars, but they make a few bucks.
Yeah.
Just because of that movie.
Yeah, it's
And a lot of
crazy.
practice.
Wild.
Like seriously, there's nothing else I would go to bat for like that much. Like everything else, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's some major bad sides. This was old. It was limited by the technology, but that freaking movie, I'll always defend it.
And luckily they made all their money back, right?
Probably by now, right?
Yeah, by now I'm sure.
I
Like now.
wonder if you figure in toy sales as, box office. I'm sure they did all right, even though the movie bombed originally. You know what I mean?
Well, without
Yeah.
that movie, I don't know if we'd be here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So
That movie is the sole reason that this franchise still exists.
even though it was a failure, I mean, it was definitely not a failure. It was, commercial box office failure. Like, it's not always the end of the road.
No.
Galvatron.
At least not when you have something like that where you have an actual franchise that can continue. Because it did the job. It put more toys out it was a giant commercial to put more toys on the shelf. And then you had
Yep.
season 3 of the show to continue on the story. And it just keeps going.
And it resonated with us that we're still here buying those toys 35 years later or whatever.
Like, how excited was everyone when they showed Alicon? Like, we're finally getting a real Alicon toy. And
I bought 10!
the quintessence pit of
Bullshit.
judgment. Like, how many people are just like, I open all my toys, and they get that quintessence pit of judgment, and you're like, nope, keeping this thing in the box because this is a moment from that movie created in 3D that's just going to sit on my shelf.
That was a hard
Guess
choice.
you ordered a second one from the next run, just for that purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
two of them because I was gonna trade one. I thought it'd be good trade bait, and then I stared at it and I said, "No, one of these is staying sealed. One of these is getting opened.
Or
That's where we
trap
live
it.
now." So much for that idea.
Because a 35-year-old movie still is just burned into our skulls.
Okay, quick round. How many times have you bought that movie? Like, how many different formats do you have in it? For me, it is like 5. I bought it 5 times.
I have
On
the
a
original
VHS.
VHS, the Canadian
Yeah, you
VHS, the first DVD, the reissue DVD, the Blu-ray.
The best one.
So yeah, I guess.
I've got 2 different Blu-rays.
Yeah.
have one that got released in like Australia by Madman, and then the more recent one.
You see, we had to have the Canadian VHS because that one said, "Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?" And have that at the time.
I remember Paul and I having the discussion when the remastered DVD came out that like they fixed some of the sound errors. So like the scene where Unicron is like you see his innards and he's chewing up the planet and you hear the music go you just so get used to hearing that little error that when you saw the remastered version that didn't have it, it was like that.
Jarring.
Yeah, it was weird.
I thought the distortion was intentional. You mean it isn't?
Yeah.
I remember getting the 20th anniversary one.
That's the best
early.
one still to this day.
It probably. I mean, the Blu-ray is a higher quality, but I worked at a record label at the time, and for some reason, someone at my office got like a screener, and I was like, "Oh yes, I will take that." and I put it in my computer, and I like took a picture of all the menus and stuff, and I like leaked it on Flickr before it was supposed to be out, and I did not get in trouble because that was a long time ago. But I would have today.
Yeah, that would be a little bit different.
But I didn't buy that one. I got it for free from Perks.
I'm gonna out myself as the outlier here and say that I've actually only bought the movie once. I bought a DVD in high school. That was it.
Wait, you haven't got the new Blu-ray?
Nope.
Oh man, Christmas is coming up and everything.
It has
I'd
really
like to
bad
see
box
it,
art.
but
You could pass.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
I can't get that Blu-ray to play in my Xbox One.
I played in my Xbox One.
Yeah, I think my Blu-ray player in it is borked or something, but so that really sucks. But I wanted
just
to
a hard
rip it.
poor that still has an Xbox One.
Yeah, I do. I am. You know, so I had a project I started back when that 20th anniversary DVD came out. I ripped it off of the DVD and I started fixing the errors one by one. But I stopped because then Blu-ray became a thing, and I still have yet to like revisit that project because it takes a long time.
Did you try and fix Sludge's eyes? Because that's not an error. That would stay.
That would stay. But like there's like errors almost every scene, and it's great. Like the big ones that I remember that I have fixed previously and just haven't done a second time is like when Unicron's coming towards them, and he's like his cell is in front of the background by accident. So it's like so he looks like he's this big instead of like enormous. So I fixed that. I fixed Prime's 2 matrices in his chest. I turned Sunstreaker into Cordon at Lookout Mountain. I turned Thundercracker and Skywarp into Sunstorm and a Purple Seeker or something.
You fixed Rumble and Frenzy?
I was really close. I had it like half done. I fixed Rewind and Eject because that one's easy. You can just turn the blue one gray, and that's a lot easier to do. But that's like the creme de. I didn't release this stuff by any means because I wanted to fix the Rumble scene because if I did that it would be like the scene around the world. You know, if I did that correctly, it's still gonna happen someday. But the one I did the best was at the Autobot shuttle. There's 2 Starscreams. There's Starscream who has Megatron, and then there's another one that's hiding in the hole. But that's Skywarp. Because later Skywarp flies in and like jumps in the seat. And so I did fix that. And you can find it on YouTube, but it's like really old and kind of hard to find. Look for Decepticons Attack Autobots Shuttle. You might be able to find it. But it's like DVD quality, so I abandoned it. I need to redo it someday in pure HD.
You're about to have a life event that will make all that stuff seem very, very
I know. It will never
not priority.
I will never.
Yeah. One day.
You'll be working on this in your 60s.
Whatever. Maybe they'll release a like film quality version at that point. Who knows?
We're all just sitting there like in 3D. Like you get to experience what it's like to be Ironhide as he's shot.
That'd be awful.
How many times are we gonna buy it again?
Yeah. So, Anna, who are we doing
I'm
tomorrow
gonna post
night?
a link in the chat, by the way.
Have we talked about it at all? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I just assumed that you were planning it. Haven't we
have
had the
plans?
schedule for weeks, right?
I got piles of weird crap we could do.
No, we're not doing piles of weird crap.
Why not? It's more fun.
It's
If
not
you say
more
by
fun. No one else likes it.
weird crap, it's Cordon and Spin Out. I mean, that's
We do cord and spin out.
I don't have those.
What do you have?
I have Alita.
We could do Alita.
oh boy,
That's
the
it.
third version of that mold. Yay!
I had the
So-
Bumblebee in the box.
Oh, Bumblebee. There you go. Do that.
Do B.
I have what else do I have?
I successfully ordered a Bumblebee from Walmart's website today,
Woo!
despite
Wow.
however many pre-orders got canceled.
They
I
shipped
mean,
some of
you
those kids
ordered.
pre-order.
Yeah, same with me.
Just because you order it doesn't mean that they're going to ship it.
Just because you cancel it doesn't mean they won't ship it.
Exactly.
So,
So stupid.
Do you guys want to do these guys?
Do you
I need to
them
open
too.
that set.
are you
God,
ready?
not
We could
to.
do them.
I'd have to
I need
open it.
my crap. I have to open mine. Book club this week is the Netflix. What in a
Yeah,
War
so
for
we're
Cybertron Siege? What
so
are you
for
doing?
book club, we're going to talk about the Siege season of the Netflix show to get ready
it's
for
not
the
a
release
book,
of the
right?
Enterprise season
That makes
coming out
sense.
in just a
Okay.
few days.
It's
So
like a
there's-
book when you put on the subtitles.
right.
And
It's not
read the
really a book
subtitles.
club this week. It's a
We've had 18 shows about that, but have fun with
episode
book club.
club. But we have, but we're going to watch it to refresh ourselves and talk about it. And we've got some new
Alright.
people who haven't been
Okay.
around on the show too long, so it'll be fun. And that way, I'm going to I think I'm probably going to rewatch it myself on Saturday. And I'm probably going to share a link in the Discord if anyone wants to watch it with me for funsies. I talk over things though, so you probably don't want to watch it with me, but maybe you're into that. But it might be fun to do, and then we'll talk about it on Sunday night during our 8:30 p.m. Central book club time, and then we'll all be ready to go and watch the new stuff that comes out next week.
Tuesday night.
So tomorrow night we're gonna have microcasters, and we don't know what we're doing yet, apparently, but it'll be a surprise for
figure it out.
everyone. We'll
That'll be
get
totally-
this figured out. We've got like 24 hours almost. So that's Tuesday night at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central on the Facebook page. And then, are we doing an Oof My Wallet this week, Paul, or is that skipping?
Of course we are.
There you
It's
go.
Christmas time. It's the biggest oof of the year.
There you
So
go.
put your Santa hats on and jingle your bells, because we'll be there.
I can talk about some really weird stuff. Just offered.
The more the merrier.
There you go. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. It was fun to, even though we had 6 seems like a crazy cast for us. I know other podcasts have casts as big or
was
more. So
Full.
yes. So thank you to everyone in the chat. Thanks to Sportimus and Catherine and Zaldron. And there's quite a few people. I think that Alan, there was Alex, Ron earlier, Jay, Roverman. If I missed anyone, I apologize. I'm trying to go back through here. So thank you everyone. I appreciate it. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.